Hello, everyone. It's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So, former President Obama, former black President Obama, was complaining and whining that Bernie supporters undermine his healthcare plan. Wah! Wah! Yes. Weep to me from the shadows of your irrelevancy. Weep to me. Tell me your sins. And I say tell me your sins because it's not Bernie supporters that undermine your healthcare plan. Your healthcare plan undermines your healthcare plan. It's the point of healthcare. Healthcare is the point of healthcare to protect drug companies, to protect insurance companies, to lock Americans into private enterprise for healthcare. Is that the goal of healthcare, President Obama? Yes or no? Tell me your sins. When you went out of office and you were crying about a public option, why are you crying about a public option now? You ran with this idea that you were going to have a public option. You mentioned it. I remember it. It's clear as day. You mentioned it. And then after it was off the table. Medicare for all, off the table. All these things were off the table. All that matters, private meetings. Now you're complaining about Trump having private meetings for drug care. You're also doing private meetings. It's the point of healthcare. Healthcare is the point of healthcare. Lining certain people's pockets. In a market-driven solution to healthcare, what matters more, the market or the patient? You have rates spiking by 50% in some places, in other places 33%, but you're getting massive rate hikes. Is the point of healthcare the market? What's the point of healthcare? Healthcare. What I'm getting at is when you have absolute control of the political apparatus and you're a Democrat and you've been screaming about healthcare for 50 years, and the best that you can do is Mitt Romney. The best that you can do is Mitt Romney. Why are you crying now about somebody undermining your plan? Is it fair to say that your plan undermined your plan? It didn't cover everybody, meaning there were millions of people still uninsured. Drug costs were still ridiculously high because you barred the United States government from negotiating with drug costs. And people were still getting hit with massive fees. Is the point of healthcare healthcare, or is the point of healthcare lining people's pockets? Now, you tell me. You look at the ACA. Now, anybody who's looking to do the best thing they could for the population would have looked around the world and say, what works? What works? What are other people doing that are giving us the best options in regards to healthcare costs and along to patient satisfaction? What works? You let ideology take the lead. Religion, your political religion, you let ideology make determining factors over the most precious of a person's possession, their physicality, their body. Don't cry to me from the shadows. Your healthcare plan undermined your healthcare plan. You're supposed to be a Democrat and you're using a right-wing healthcare plan as your model for healthcare. Now, as that plan fails, Trump is going to tweet about it consistently. Trump care is going to be an absolute disaster, but I hope that disaster passes. I've gone into that in another video. I'm not going to detour on this one. I'm just making the point that if Obama is complaining, Obama needs to bitch to himself. You had control of the political apparatus. You had a Senate. You had a Supreme Court. Well, you didn't have a Supreme Court, but you had a Senate and you had a House. And not just the House and the Senate. You had a filibuster-proof majority in the Senate. That's what you had. And the best you could do is Mitt Romney. When people ask, what does the Democratic Party stand for? The ACA takes a nod. The ACA takes a nod. Now, let's add a little bit more context, because I got to be fair. As much as I dislike this healthcare plan, the ACA, if the point of healthcare is healthcare, you deal with healthcare. You're born. Congratulations. You have Medicare. It's going to be with you from the time you're born to the time that you die, because you have value as an American citizen. As a person, as a human being, you have worth. And our society is going to affirm that worth by making sure that any medical coverage that you need throughout the course of your life is attended to. That's our society. Those are the values of our society. What does the ACA say about our values? We're still quibbling over how many millions of people are not going to get health care. Those are the ranges of debate in our society. That's amazing, right? That's amazing. But you got to give Obama his due on one particular point. Healthcare was thought to be impossible. I don't understand why, but healthcare was thought to be impossible. Now, any functioning political apparatus will look at this and say, hold on, we are paying 4 times as much for healthcare as anywhere else in the world. Why are we paying this much for healthcare? What are the gains we're getting? We're not rated number 1 in healthcare. Last time I looked, we were 37th. What's the problem? Why are we paying this much? That's sensible. That's not our politics. That's not even our political apparatus. That's political apparatus completely devoid and detached from reality. They're functioning purely on a level of ideology that has nothing to do with the physical, real-world things to which we exist, including Obama. Yes, you don't get Obamacare without functioning in that way. What I'm getting at, though, is healthcare was deemed to be almost impossible, which is amazing in and of itself. The fact that Obama was able to crack the public consciousness of America in the sense of saying, yes, we're Americans. American citizens can have healthcare. Yes, I'm going to put through a shitty right-wing plan, but it's going to be a healthcare plan nonetheless. That was new. That was different. That changed the narrative. In fact, the fact that we're having a narrative right now, the fact that the Republican Party just doesn't strip away Obamacare and they're coming up with a shitty healthcare plan of Trump care, they recognize that the American public has fundamentally changed on this topic. I'm making the point that the American public would change in regards to what it thinks it's worth. And the political apparatus will change to accommodate what it thinks it's worth. The moment that the American public says, holy shit, we should have health care, the Republican Party could in no way just strip away health care. That's what I'm getting at. What do you believe you're worth? That's what you're going to get. You have to give Obama credit for at least cracking the nut in that sense of getting the population to say, holy shit, we should have health care. They may strip it away, they may break it, they may weaken it, but ultimately, he got it into the American population that, holy shit, we should have health care. The problem was he didn't do it right. Nobody bitches about Medicare. Nobody bitches about Medicaid. Nobody bitches about Social Security because those things are done right. People love those things. Those things help them out. Those things were done right. If Obamacare was done right and not in shadows, it would have more than a 40 or 50% approval rating. And you wouldn't have Obama whining in the shadows of his irrelevance. Those Bernie guys were dogging my plan, man. If it wasn't for those Bernie guys dogging my plan, people would think my plan was better. No. Your rate's going up 50% is dogging your plan. That's what's dogging your plan. Let's be honest. What is the point of healthcare? What is the point of healthcare? Is the point of healthcare? And if we're spending $1 trillion on the military, are you telling me that your most prized possession, your form, your physicality, your most prized possession shouldn't be insured in the country to which you live? Do you care enough about other people to say, yes, we should have healthcare for everybody? Single payer, or at the very least, you're born into a country you have healthcare. However you arrange that thing. I would say yes. I would say everybody should have healthcare. I would say we should have single payer healthcare. You're born into the system. Congratulations. You're an American citizen. Part of the bonus of being an American citizen is you have healthcare for life. Go out and multiply and be fruitful. Trump care is going to be the dawn of single payer. If Obama had did healthcare right, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Republicans couldn't touch it. They couldn't touch it. As it is vulnerable. And it wasn't Bernie Sanders supporters dogging it. The healthcare plan itself was dogging itself. So, I'll leave it at that. If you enjoy the content, feel free to share, rate, subscribe. You can always support the work through Patreon. Thank you.